All right, I think we're live. I'm guessing we are. Thanks so much for joining into the market wrap right here on BloombergQuint with me, Niraj, and my colleague Nickey Mirchandani. Well, it was an interesting day of trade. Let me just very quickly first take you through all that happened and then get Nickey in. So the large caps did okay. You probably argue that could we have done better? Sure, we can. But under the context of what the scare was on Friday evening, have we done much better than that? Yes, we have. Up about 0.19% is something that most people would have taken with both hands. If you would have told them this on Friday evening when the Dow at a point of time was down about 2.5 to 3 percentage points. So what led the rally or what helped the move upwards today? Amongst the heavyweights, IT names like TCS stood out. HUL stood out a bit. There was a 7% uptick in Bharti Infratel, but it's not a heavyweight. But you can clearly see that the benefits of idea sustaining and looking like staying as competition is showing up on the Bharti Infratel stock price. There's some gains for Asian Paints as well marginally, and ITC and HDFC amongst the heavyweights participated. What didn't do well, M&M 3.5%, despite the fact that everybody is bullish on the tractor business. Bajaj Finance came off a bit. I think people are positioned in a lot of these economy recovery names, Hero MotoCorp, Bajaj Finance, M&M. And after having a very good rally, these stocks have come off. Today, Bharti Airtel too was lower though. However, the major action was, again, as usual, the broader end of the spectrum. I dare say the market breadth would not be as robust as it was on Thursday's session. In fact, 182 up to about 319 declining. So it was actually negative. And what corrected? First, let's talk about that. Jubilant Life, we spoke about it in trade setup today. Very poor numbers compared to estimates, and Dow 5%, 6%. And we told everybody about being very careful when it came to future group stocks. I won't get tired of repeating this again and again. But look at that. Future retail down 5%, consumer down about 4.5%. So the future group stocks continuing the slide lower. Edelweiss corrected a bit, and Tata Consumer from amongst the high-flying stocks came off a bit today. Maybe expensive valuations finally catching up. What did well? I think it was an MNC day. AstraZeneca, Blue Dart. There were other names, Asahi India Glass, Pfizer, Wapco, all of them had a fairly decent outing. IndiaMart Intermesh ended up about 10% higher. Very strong commentary in the Motilal Oswal conference, and I think that led to the stock doing well. And the Tata Motors DVR. What you see out here is the DVR and not the main stock. But I think Tata Sons has apparently increased the stake in the DVR, and as a result of which this stock was up about 10%. So good going really for select names. However, what stood out in trade? Maybe I've spoken about some of the things briefly, but Nickey would have greater details. Nickey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Niraj. You've pretty much covered most of the stuff that I haven't made it up, but I'm just going to be giving in some details, which obviously weren't covered. Jubilant Life Sciences, as you just mentioned, the numbers were rather disappointing, but if you look at the commentary which has come through, at least for the next 3 quarters in terms of 2-3 segments, the stock is expected to do well, or rather the company is expected to do well. There is some amount of revenue visibility which is coming on account of that. Imminent trigger, of course, would be the demerger, and Macquarie on Jubilant Life Sciences says that at this point of time, it has an outperform rating. In fact, it's gone ahead and raised the target price to 955 from 750 earlier. And, this provides a further room of upside. I don't know if traders would use this as an opportunity to lap up the stock. This is no recommendation, but just a suggestion where the commentary is rather bullish coming in. IRCTC, where, the numbers, if you look at the performance of the company, it's a 3.5-4% uptake that we saw. Few of the reports have been suggesting that Railways is going to be running 40 pairs of new special trains from September 12. Of course, the reservations of which will begin on September 10. On account of that, you're seeing some amount of strong momentum coming in on IRCTC, and I wouldn't be surprised if this rally continues for the next few days going further too. AstraZeneca, Pharma India, where it's the 5th consecutive session of rally. Today it was a 19% uptick coming in for the counter. Market rumors suggest that big fund apparently has slapped up the stairs, but then we're not sure. No market reports which confirm this, but just a chatter which says that a big marquee name could have entered this particular stock. RSI at this point of time is at 89, which indicates that the stock might be just overbought. And last, of course, in the list, as Anil mentioned, was Tata Motors DVR, where the promoters, they've acquired more than 5 million shares or a stake of around 1.5% in the company. As of June, the promoters held around 5.26% stake. It's only on Friday that Tata Motors DVR were trading at a highest ever discount of 65% to the main stock. So could be a good, buying opportunity for the promoters as a whole, and of course brings in a confidence to some extent when it comes to the promoter buying sake. On account of that, you've seen that sharp uptick coming in for Tata Motors. But then Niraj, I'll come back to you on.
Yeah, Nickey, you said that the discount was the highest in a long time for Tata Motors versus the DVR on Friday.
Yeah, it's a 65% discount that it's the highest ever that we've seen in the lifetime for for this particular DVR. So definitely, some amount of valuation benefit also to comfort for the promoters to enter in. But then Neeraj, I'd like to come into you and ask you about the IPO. Happy Technologies Mind, which has come in. You spoke to the management earlier part of the day, and just to add up to it, 1.49 times day one subscription. So over, the response is clearly good. But then, what do you make out of this?
Yeah, by the way, I mean, it's a good point that Nickey's raised, simply because the IPO market is red hot this week, simply because two very interesting mid-cap IPOs are out, and both of them seem to have fairly decent subscription possibilities. So Happiest Minds, of course, has already announced, the numbers are already looking okay. And the interesting thing out here, viewers, just keep in mind, and I'm glad Nickey asked me about it, because this is on the basis of the interaction that we had, really, is that the management is saying that they will grow at a 20% CAGR, or they've grown at 20% for the last few years, and they don't see any reasons why they cannot do an encore in the years to come. Now, keep in mind, this is in stark contrast to what the rest of the Indian IT firms are doing, mid-size, large size, whatever, growing between 6% to 12% or thereabouts. And here we have a company which is saying that they'll grow at about 20%. So that's actually probably the key takeaway, and maybe that's why, amongst other things, the subscription numbers would be good. Also, there are only digital model, or 96% digital model. So everybody from TCS to HCL Tech to etc. are all saying that you should go and we want to go and be digital. Here's a company that is purely digital. So maybe they have struck the right chords. But Nickey, you're right. I mean, for now, this seems to be garnering people's attention, and therefore the subscription numbers look robust. But yeah, I mean, that's it from my and Nickey's end. Just a quick snapshot of what the world markets are doing right now. Remember, Europe would be, US would be shut today because it's a long weekend for the US market. So we won't have any cues from the mother market, but the other market should be flattish again in light of the fact that this is happening. So I might not have too many cues, just about 1.5% for the European markets, which is probably aided sentiment back home too. From Nickey, myself, and the team that has put this piece together, viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great evening, and we'll see you with the trade setup tomorrow at 8 a.m.